Hey traders, this is Ron Haidt at Market Tamer. Happy Sunday. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. As always, nothing in this presentation shall constitute a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Trading stocks and options involves risk and specific financial issues should always be addressed with your financial advisor. We'll kick off here with the S&P ETF, the SPY, which I have a bullish position in. And we finished down on Friday, but Thursday we set new all-time highs. Friday was a quad witching event, so I said we'd probably see some back and forth. There was a little give back, but we're still setting up bullish heading into this week. If we look at the diamonds, which is the Dow, closed higher, new all-time highs for the Dow. Again, all off the highs, but it's quad witching, all that back and forth. There's nothing really to make of that. If we take a look at the IWM, it was down. So the Russell 2000 was down on Friday, still holding above the 50-day in orange. Now, if we get below the 50-day in orange, which is an institutional moving average, we go back to the box. So we can either go to this swing low around 165 or down here towards 162.50. The longer this keeps playing out sideways, this 200-day is going to start continually inching higher. So neutral for IWM this week. MDY, I would give it neutral to bullish as well. MDY is holding up a little bit better than IWM. If I go back to IWM, we're already down at the 50. If I go MDY, we're still, frankly, above the 20-day EMA. Now the Qs. They were down on Friday. They did bullish engulfing. They really can't seem to get over this 185. We tried to get above it 913, 914. Previous Thursday, Friday. Thursday, Friday again, it's the same thing. Thursday gap up, Friday down, except this Friday, bearish engulfing. Now, normally I'd give a little more attention to that, but with quad witching, who knows? The overall trend here of higher highs, higher lows is still intact. So again, bulls get the edge in the stock market. Here is VIX 1168, back-to-back dojis with some little bottoming action here, but it's not what you're really looking for as a true indicator. The fact is we're at 11.68, period. Below 12, below 13, below 14, anything down there is still bullish for equities. We start getting above this 15 area and then up towards 18, that would start raising some eyebrows and some yellow flags. So again, bullish for equities. I haven't talked about Apple a whole lot, but I'm going to come back to it because it is a Sunday and I try to do a broader market review, and it's a stock that so many folks follow. If you remember at the end of August, especially for the members of Market Tamer and Financial, I said to you guys, beware. Apple's news event at the beginning of September usually marks a high in the near term. It doesn't mean the stock's going to crash, but if you said, hey, what are the odds of it moving higher or lower? It is actually lower. It's not higher. And what happened? Right into September, the very first trading day, the very first week of September, 9.4 marked the high. Come down, we bounce, come down. We're just having trouble. And now we're seeing big volume on Friday, again, quad witching. I did see a report over this weekend that said about, supply sales aren't looking that good in China, yada, yada, yada. They always are seemingly running negative headline. It's just a seasonality thing for Apple. You literally can pinpoint the high, end of August, beginning of September, high, and then you get into September, there's more of a low. This is playing out all over again. And then if you look at something like AMD, same thing. Once you get into early September is the peak, and then you start drifting lower. And if I show you guys something, just check this out. I'll come back to the SPY here in a second, but let's go to Apple. Over the next 15 weeks, just take a peek. It actually dips right into the beginning of October. So if I move my slider over here and look out just over the next 3 weeks, 56% of the time, which is 21 out of 37 years, the stock still falls lower by 4.2%. Now, move that slider out a couple weeks. I take it out between now and maybe the end of the year, let's say 14 weeks. Now we can see a sharp contrast where the stock starts rallying, just like AMD. The dip's already begun. It gets a little bit of a bounce, but if you said, hey, how does AMD look to hold to the end of the year? Well, check this out. Over the next 14 weeks, AMD has historically risen by a lousy 0.6%. And it only goes up 42% of the time. More often than not, it goes lower. It's not by a whole lot. This is my point. If you look at something like the AMD, it actually drops. Apple goes up. Check out the SPY. Look at the little dip, pause, and then we run. But even if I go out 14 weeks on the S&P, look at this. It goes up 2.5%, 80% of the time. 20 out of the 25 years this stock has been publicly traded. 80% of the time, it moves higher. 2.5%. So if historical averages continue to play out, it's not exactly going to pay off a whole lot of bills, is it? But you know what? There is a specific set of stocks, a very specific list that we look at every year that go up as much as 10%, 15%, 20%, 25% or more. It's crazy. And that's what I'm going to do this Wednesday. You guys know I held an event a couple weeks ago. They maxed out both times. Last week I didn't have anything. I'm bringing it back Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It will not be recorded. You got to be there. At the bottom of this video, there's going to be a link. I'm also going to be emailing it out as well. Make sure you register and get there. Within the first couple minutes of going live, I will show you based on proven historical data, not my opinion, not your opinion, no one's opinion. It's just the facts. Which of these stocks do the best? You've heard about them in the past, and then year after year on, based on their history, they seemingly go higher. And I'll show you exactly how to identify them. So when they start the run, you can say, wow, it looks like here come the big fish again. It looks like they're buying. And then, you start wondering, well, is AMD a good stock? Is Netflix a good stock? Is Adobe a good stock till year end? The answer is no, but I'll show you who has been based on proven historical data. So make sure you register for that webinar. I promise you, it'll be worth your time. It will blow you away. All right, let's get back to some other stocks now. And again, that link's going to be at the bottom of the video. Take a look at Nvidia. This stock is going nowhere fast. If I go back out to 1 year, I had a question on this. If you've held Nvidia from basically January to now, maybe 5, 10, 15 bucks a share. It's not actually that much. If you held it since March, you're pretty much flat. There's not a whole lot going on. But the big thing here is it's in a trading range, right? I could even extend it to that. Now, previously, Nvidia had broken out. Let me do this. Sometimes it's hard to draw these boxes, something like this, right? It did break out at the end of August. It's bouncing around and it's actually coming lower. But if I take it back here and I show you Nvidia, you can type in any stock. Look what happens. There's still a dip right on schedule. Then Nvidia becomes a rock star and it starts running. And you're talking just picking 14 weeks, 73% of the time, it's gone up historically, 8 by 18%. These types of moves is what I consider to be the chance to outperform the market. Where the S&P, yes, it has this big seasonal bias, right, as a market whole. But I want the ones that move the biggest, the chance to have the biggest return. So that's what we're going to talk about again on Wednesday. So Nvidia, no surprise, it's going nowhere fast. How about Micron? I've been watching Micron myself. I have no trade open in it. It keeps going down in this channel. I was curious to see what earnings was going to do, because we had this little bit of potential reversal play here where there was a gap down and then a quick gap right back up. Earnings didn't prove it. If anybody is watching watching Micron, what I'd be looking for is a close above the 50-day. Until that happens, I want nothing to do with this from the bullish side. There's just no point. There's other, in my opinion, better stuff to trade from the bullish perspective. How about XLF? Now this is interesting, but keep in mind, Friday was quad witching. We gapped up, closed lower. This is the banks. The volume was above average, but not excruciating, or crazy high volume. But I would look for maybe somewhere back at these moving averages, the 20-day EMA in red or the 50-day in orange, maybe something as a support area. This also plays into the S&P having a little trouble right now, but we'll see. In the next couple of weeks, we don't hit the switch until we get into October, the middle of October. And it's going to be hard for the market to rally if the financials aren't coming along. Here's something new to watch. IPGP, we have talked about this in the past, I believe. We had this big earnings gap. I mean, this stock went from 2.25 to 164. That was butt ugly. We tried to come up and break out. We couldn't. Now we're coming up again. I would want to put alerts at 175. A close above 175 on IPG Photonics, accompanied with a close above the 50-day, that's a huge gap. And if we could get up in there, I'd consider something like the 20-day EMA as an end-of-day trailing stop. Here is YRD, which is your Yerendi, if I'm saying that right. I love these longer-term downtrending stocks. This thing was at 40. Now it's below 15. So 50% plus loss in value, right? Well, if I zoom in, what's happening? The black bars are now beating the red. So I use Thinkorswim profit charts Now that we're getting above moving averages and we're coming down, but we're reversing higher, we're starting to set higher lows here. We're holding our higher low, we're holding or setting higher lows. If I zoom out, I'd want to get something above, maybe 20 bucks, which isn't much more. At that point, because of the way this went down, there's no major resistance here. The first target instantly becomes the 200-day moving average in purple. That's what I'd keep an eye on. So IPGP and YRD, two new ones to watch. And again, Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing a webinar. Make sure you register at the bottom of this video. It'll be well worth your time. We'll have new updated top stocks for year end. So wish you guys a fantastic week ahead. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take good care.